Welcome back, everyone. Just 9 months until the November elections. Wisconsin lawmakers targeting artificial intelligence. A bipartisan bill that passed the Assembly Elections Committee this past week would require political ads that broadcast in Wisconsin to disclose when AI is used. And we've already seen some examples nationwide. This past summer, the super PAC backing Governor Ron DeSantis used AI to create a voice, making it appear former President Donald Trump was reading his own social media posts.
Did big rallies, and she won. Now she wants to remain neutral. I don't invite her to events.
In another ad, the Republican National Committee used AI to create dystopian images representing and responding to President Biden's re-election bid. In Wisconsin, the new bill would impose a $1,000 fine for each violation, ads that didn't disclose AI, and some lawmakers wanted to go even further. Republican State Representative Adam Nealon is one of the bill's authors. He joins us now. Representative, hey, good to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Some of those examples we just showed and talked about, is this what we're talking about when we're talking about AI in political ads?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that you need to be able to trust what you see and hear, especially when it comes to elections. When you're talking about election integrity, I think it's very important that people be able to trust what they see and what they hear. And that's why we want to have a simple disclaimer on the campaign ad so people know when artificial intelligence is being used.
I haven't seen any personally. Are you aware of any Wisconsin-specific ads that have run using AI, or is this more preventative?
This is more preventative. I mean, you're already seeing AI really explode into the social network space, especially when you're talking about advertising. You know, I see a lot of ads that come up on my social network that I don't know if I should believe it or not, right? There's one I saw the other day that was Mr. Beast advertising free iPhones. You're thinking, oh, that seems like something he might do, right?
Yeah.
But then when you do a little research, you find that that's actually artificial intelligence. That's not really him. And things like that are what we want to prevent in elections from people, spokesmen, or like deep fakes or things that people saying stuff that they didn't really say. So we want to be preventative. We want to get out front, and we really want to make sure that people in Wisconsin are able to trust their election commercials.
The bill passed the Assembly Elections Committee unanimously. Is there enough support for this to pass the full Assembly?
I think there is, and I think it was really important that we made an effort to make it bipartisan because this is an issue that's going to impact all of us, right? It's here. Like you see it happening at the federal level already. It's going to happen in this next election. And we thought that everybody can get behind and understand that this isn't a Republican issue. This isn't a Democratic issue. This is an issue that affects everybody. And that's why we wanted to make it a broad coalition and earn that bipartisan support and make sure that it's signed by the governor.
I was going to say, will this get through the Senate then and signed by the governor this spring?
Yeah, that's our hope. And I think we're taking the steps to make sure that happens.
Some lawmakers want or have wanted the penalties to go even a bit further than the $1,000 fine. Here's part of the committee hearing this past week.
And if there's something egregious like character assassination or false information, then it can be bumped up to the DA's office, which then would do what I wanted it to do by putting an additional penalty on there.
Is that the goal here as well, to go beyond just a fine if there are violations for this?
Yeah, it's a great question. And if during our research we discovered that there is an act in Wisconsin in statute 1205 that actually does protect from false character assassination or misleading campaign advertisements, that does have a penalty on it. So we were looking at this specifically from an ethics and a campaign violation standpoint. But if there is things that rise to the level, then the district attorney can look and prosecute it. But we wanted to have those two separate things in this bill and make sure that this focused on the election and ethics component.
Speaking to what Representative Rosar was talking about, how is this different than any other political ad that we currently see that doesn't use AI, that a lot of people could say include character assassination or false information just in our general political ads?
It's not. Yeah. You know, and the thing is, like 1205 can be used currently. And one thing that we were interested to discover is we can't find any instances that it actually was used, 1205, in terms of that character assassination or misleading information. But we think now with the use of artificial intelligence in the way that this is moving in our society, that it will be likely that statute will be used at some point. So we wanted to make sure that we are protecting that to be able to, that could be utilized, but also make sure, just from a standpoint of it having a disclaimer, something that people know then that this is generative in artificial intelligence.
A fascinating debate. Representative Avin Nealon, thank you so much for your time and perspective.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for focusing on this issue.
Up next, Judge Lena Taylor, the longtime state senator sworn in as a circuit court judge, her time in the legislature and a possible endorsement to fill her seat. She's one-on-one with Jaron next.